A lot of time, technology is identified based upon availability in the area, the overall cost, and the requirements of the application or the traffic flows. I need to make sure that whatever WAN solution I choose, it's going to meet the requirements of my business. That's the ultimate goal. We do have two different options. We have a dedicated option, which is going to be probably the highest speed option that we're going to find. It's also the most controllable. In this option, we actually lease and we don't share the connection with anyone else. Something like T1 or T3, or even a fractional T1, can be leased from a service provider, and we'll actually own all of that bandwidth. This connection typically comes with a higher cost per month, but it does give us much more control and a higher bandwidth connection. We also have switched connections. The most popular of these connections are packet switched and cell switched. Packet switched is typically our frame relay and our DSL, which are very popular technologies. Cell switched is ATM, which in some cases is used more as a LAN technology than a WAN technology, but that's entirely up to you. Nonetheless, packet switched networks, circuit switched networks, and cell switched networks are all limited by the amount of bandwidth that they can provide. Packet switched and cell switched networks typically provide the highest levels of bandwidth. One of the biggest issues that we have with these types of networks is that the latency on our line is fully controlled by the service provider. So even though we may get a frame relay connection, which has the equivalency of T1 speeds on dedicated network, which is 1.544 megabits per second, but because the provider controls the latency and the bandwidth on that line, it only has to average that much per month. This means that I may not always have 1.544 megabits per second. I may be oversubscribed or undersubscribed on that line. Whereas with the dedicated line, I am always going to have 1.544 megabits per second if I purchase a T1. So there's a major difference in controllability, in monthly cost, and availability of the different types of networks. Circuit switch networks, which include the phone company, are typically just not fast enough for a lot of the bigger business applications. So typically, something like the packet switched or cell switched variety is chosen instead. Nonetheless, these are the options that I have for WAN links and for WAN link considerations. Probably the most popular of these options is the leased line. The leased line can give us the opportunity to have a dedicated link which we completely own from one area to another. Whether it is global or across the country or across town, we can have a leased line that provides us with a very controllable, very deterministic type of line for all of our applications.